What's up, everybody? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. And as I said yesterday, I got a big guest for you guys on another Wednesday episode of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I have none other than Buffalo Bills linebacker Lorenzo Alexander. Lorenzo, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Ryan, what's going on, brother? Really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. So, I want to acknowledge something right out of the gate. You had a birthday this past week, 31st of May was your birthday.
Sir.
I wanted to wish you a happy belated birthday, but for the people that are living under a rock that don't watch football, or maybe the people that, don't realize this, but you're 36 years old as an NFL linebacker. You get this a lot. You get people saying, old man Lorenzo, but you prove them wrong on Sundays, right?
Yeah. It's all about taking care of your body. I've had the pleasure of playing with guys that have had longevity in this league. The guy at the top of the list is London Fletcher, and to be able to watch him play at a high level late in his career and the things that he did in order to do it, so I learned from the best.
Right.
And that's why I was really been able to, continue to play well later in my career. Amongst, the biggest thing is just the way the game is played now, the way we practice, the emphasis on sports science and making sure guys are training smarter and not necessarily harder. And so, the culmination of all those factors have really allowed me to still be able to run around with 20-year-olds, on Sundays.
Right. And you're entering your 13th season in the National Football League, and one of the most intriguing factors, I think the most intriguing factor within your career is that it hasn't always been easy. You had some peaks and valleys, some
Right.
it's been a bumpy road, but it's definitely, you reached the top here in Buffalo with the Buffalo Bills. You're entering your 4th season with the Buffalo Bills. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep, your 4th season. So to say that you're an anomaly, that would be an understatement, in my opinion, because you burst onto the scene. You are, though. You burst onto the scene at the age of 33 when you were brought into the Bills organization. A lot of the chatter around that time was that you were this backup defensive end. They labeled you a backup before you even had the opportunity to show that you weren't. And which
was fine. My role was to play special teams. I think, since I played so long and I got hurt kind of in the middle of my career, people forgot that I was a pretty dominant special teams player and went to the Pro Bowl there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think oftentimes people don't look at special teams as doing something as significant, on the NFL level. But, a lot of guys play a long time. I think about Matthew Slater. I think about our coach here, Heath Farwell. Guys that, carved out a career for themselves playing, 10-plus years on special teams. And so, defensively, I wasn't, a household name, and that's something I was able to do once I got here. But I never want people to overlook the special teams aspect because a lot of young guys, and that's kind of my message, as I, talk to them, that if you play 10 years and you're a special teams player and you play at a high level, man, that's pretty impressive. And I think it's significant. And then it allows you to work while you wait to maybe get on offense or get on defense. And that's kind of the message I would like to, let people know about the early part of my career.
Right. You carved out yourself as a special teams guy with Washington, and then you were in Arizona for a little bit, and then you went to Buffalo. And with Buffalo, I remember, being at the training camp and seeing 57 running down the field, and I'm thinking, this guy is far better than what these people are saying he is. He's going to end up being a starter. I remember saying that to, all my friends on this podcast, when we would talk about the Bills, and you were foreseen as that fringe type player, but when opportunity knocked, you did answer the door. There's a young defensive end by the name of Shaq Lawson that was hurt entering his rookie year, and you kind of took that spot. You shined really bright. You had 3 sacks in one game, but there's a huge story before that I definitely want to ask you and get into, because I think that is a story that's definitely worth telling, if you will, the Lorenzo Alexander journey. What were some of the highest of highs prior to your time in Buffalo, and what were some of the lowest of lows? When did you realize that you, quote-unquote, belonged in the NFL? Because, as we said, you were somewhat told that you were kind of on the outside looking in a few times.
Yeah, that's I guess a loaded question. I guess
Right.
I'll start with the lowest of lows. I mean, I would say is going undrafted. I mean, you put in all that work growing up as a child, and you have a dream and a passion to play ball, and it's never being undrafted. It's always being that first rounder, and having your name called at some point by the commissioner, and that never happened for me. And then the first couple of years of my career, and I think it was all needed because it humbled me and made me realize the type of work and energy I needed to, and really detail I needed to put into my craft in order to be successful. But like, for example, you said this is my 13th year when you introduced me, and it's my 13th season playing, but I played 2 practice squad years.
Right.
That I think was very instrumental, that they don't even count as far as, I don't know why they don't, as far as you being in the league.
Right.
It really was instrumental in allowing me to develop a foundation to be able to play in this league for so long. One year I was on the Carolina Panthers and was able to watch, all pros like Julius Pepper, Steve Smith work and practice along with those guys. And the other year I was on Washington Redskins and seeing guys like Chris Samuels, Mike Sellers, guys. Those were formidable years as far as my career that really helped me out. So I guess those were probably the lowest of the years, just because I didn't get drafted and I wasn't playing on Sundays. But
Right.
I definitely think those were the most beneficial because it put things in perspective. It was a realization for me that the NFL is not something to take for granted, and and I grind it. And so by doing that, it allowed me to play multiple positions throughout my career. Learn the game inside out. And so I would say the highest point for me was probably, before getting to Buffalo, was making the Pro Bowl on special teams.
And
after grinding for so long, being on the cusp of being out of this league a couple of times, and then finding myself carving out the niche, and I can be considered the best at doing something on the NFL level. So if I had to pick out a couple of times, that was definitely it, as far as being my high as well as my low.
that's a great segue to my next question, because you worked, in Washington with a coach by the name of Mike Shanahan, a 3-time Super Bowl winner, a guy that I found a quote that he said about you, and I think it sums you up perfectly. This is a quote that would lead me to believe that he loved you not just as a player, but as a person too, which I think is so amazing. He said about you, he said, quote, "Well, you don't find many guys like Lorenzo from top to bottom. He's the best special teams player that I've been around of the guys that can make plays consistently, both kickoff returns, special teams in general. He can run. He's a big guy. He's got a great attitude. He wants to make every play. He doesn't want to come out of the game. If he's not in the Pro Bowl on special teams, I don't know who it'll be." So to have a coach like that kind of give you your first shining light to the media, he promoted you in a way that, what was that like, to play with a coach like a Mike Shanahan, who's known to have a solid pedigree throughout the league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's legendary. As you mentioned, being a Super Bowl champion, led multiple teams to Super Bowl. One is, 2 is the head coach, one is the offensive coordinator, for my 49ers that I grew up loving.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody, that's a Hall of Famer and is vouching for you, it definitely puts your name on a different level, especially nationally, when you have somebody of that pedigree that is vouching for you in this league and has great relationships. So I know that was key for me for making the Pro Bowl that year, having your coach, put his name on you the way he did.
And did that change your motivation as well, going forward? Did that change your motivation as far as knowing that you had a coach like that, saying those things about you? Did you mentally say to yourself, well, I want to prove this guy right, and kind of vouch for him that, yeah, I am that player, but I'm also much more than that? And I think eventually you did prove that, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I ever really, thought to myself, I want to, Mike Shanahan went out on a limb, because I think at that point I had shown the people that
right.
I was capable. It was more so for me, I just want to continue to make strides and not get complacent and take these opportunities for granted, because I know, you're never as good as people say you are, you're never as bad. That's something I've learned early on. And so I always try to keep a level head and see things from a very unbiased perspective as much as I can and get feedback. And so it was great that he said that, but I never wanted that to go to my head or anything.
Right.
I just wanted to continue to work hard.
Stay humble. Right.
And, because, I knew what it felt like being out of the league and how I was before I got cut or before I didn't get drafted. And so I didn't want to return to that type of mindset.
And your nickname is One Man Gang, so that means that you're a jack of all trades. You're the Swiss Army knife. You've played pretty much everywhere. It seems outside of. Have you ever kicked field goals before?
No, that's probably one of the few things I can't do. That and probably throw the ball very well. But anything else, coach asks me to do, I'll figure it out and get the job done.
Right. As far as the beginning of your career in Buffalo, we touched on a little bit in the beginning, but you burst onto the scene in Buffalo. You were brought in by the last regime in Buffalo, the Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley regime.
Doug Whaley,
yep. Mm-hmm. So as far as the beginning of your career in Buffalo, what are the differences between that past regime and the current regime of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane? Positive, or what are some of the things that you have kind of taken from both regimes, I should say?
Yeah, well, I think, something that I've just learned generally is being in the league for so long, whoever you are, when you're in a leadership position, head coach, player, front office, it really doesn't matter. You have to play or coach or teach to your strengths and who you are as a person. So, for Rex Ryan, he's a player's coach. He couldn't necessarily be, disciplinarian, I'm yelling in your face, because that's not who he is. And eventually it will come off, as ungenuine. And players can sense that. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with Sean. He couldn't be happy-go-lucky all the time. Loose, not to say that Rex was loose all the time, but it's just different structures.
Right.
So whether it was Mike Shanahan, whether it was, who else have I played for? John Fox, Bruce Arians, Rex, now Sean McDermott, they played well to who they were. And sometimes they could be a detriment to your team, depending on what type of team you have. I think Rex did really well when he had the Jets and when he was obviously in Baltimore, because he had a very mature, older team. You think about T. Sizzle, you think about Ed Reed, you think about Ray Lewis, those type of players, Bart Scott when he was with the Jets and also with the Ravens, those type of guys, older team, veteran team, different NFL as well. And as that transition happened, the league got younger. And I don't think his coaching style, because he was more men will be men and men should be men, but I think we need a little bit more structure now because the teams are younger, millennials, different generation, you have to coach different. And I think Sean has really excelled in realizing that and has, obviously I think shifted his coaching style from when he was an assistant coach to now being a head coach. And so he has a lot more structure, a lot more teaching principles, setting up a culture that is conducive to younger guys and millennials being at their best and being most effective. And, whether you like it or not, the generation, and I'm kind of a bridge guy, the generation before me and this younger generation is completely different. And the way you coach and the way you teach and the way you approach them has to be different, or you won't be successful. Mm-hmm. I think on a long term, people always point to New England, but they have the greatest quarterback of all time up there that covers up a lot of their stuff. So you can't use them as like, just do it like New England, and what they do up there, which you can't necessarily do unless you have, a 12 up there doing what he does. So I think Sean has done a great job in getting back to our team. Sean has done a great job of understanding the players that he has, where he's at, has created a great picture and vision for us. And we're just trying to get on board and as a leader, trying to push everybody down that same road. So we eventually, obviously we want to win a championship.
I have to say too, and being that you have been a part of two regimes, just from these last two seasons, heading into the third one with Mick Bean, as I like to call it, McDermott and Brandon Bean, Bean second, but McDermott's third. But I sense this unity that I have not seen here in a long time. I remember, the teams back in the 90s and with Doug Flutie and that short little window there was a lot of unity. There was a lot of fandemonium, in the words of Van Miller. Right now, I feel like that is being revisited with this regime. Talk about that, and did you sense like a new motivated shift when Sean McDermott came in? Did you sense a newfound moxie within the team?
Maybe not initially, because you have to fill out a head coach.
Right.
Obviously, this is Sean's, first opportunity to be a head coach, and so you have a young, unexperienced head coach, and you don't know quite what to expect. And I think that's from a player's perspective and probably a fan base. So there's a lot of reserve as far as emotions, because you don't want to get too excited or too down until a guy really reveals who he is and what type of direction he's going to put the team in.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've noticed being around the league again, great teams have great synergy from top down, and from the Padulas to, both Sean and Brandon. They do a great job as far as communicating. Obviously, everybody playing their role, and the whole organization kind of falls in line with that, where nobody's trying to do somebody else's job. Nobody's insecure about a guy doing their job and feel like, I need all the power. And when you have that chemistry, it just flows. And so you're on the same page. You're going to bring in a certain type of player, a certain type of coach, a certain type of staff members within your organization, because you have a clear vision of what you want your organization to look like. And so I think we've done a great job of that, from the coaches that we've brought in, the players over the last couple of years that we've signed in free agency. Mm-hmm. And so you can see the organization moving in a positive direction. Obviously, we made the playoffs the first year. Last year, we take a step back for various reasons, but I really think this is going to be a year where we have a sort of coming out party, to where we will hopefully become an organization that's at the top echelon of the league for years to come. And obviously, a lot of that rides on the shoulders of Josh Allen and how he produces guys like Jermaine, how he leads this defense. Mm-hmm. But I have great confidence in both of those young players, as well as the coaching staff, and as far as what we're trying to do here from an organizational standpoint to achieve that. And so my mindset this year is, pour everything I can into it, try to inspire, try to lead, so we can take advantage of this time now, because in the NFL, probably more so than any other sport, the window is very, very small as far as being able to win and win a championship, especially the way the salary cap and paying your quarterback and all that other stuff works. Right. Thinking about team.
Mm-hmm. As far as all that really made the hair on my arm stand up, by the way, of saying that you guys want to have a coming out party. I would definitely love to see that. And there's a lot of just buzz around Buffalo with this team. You guys have taken part recently in that Micah Hyde charity event, which I was at that event, and it was really awesome, really amazing to see everybody together for a great cause, and just to be on the same page of, as you said, no one is trying to overstep anybody. Everybody knows their role. They're going to play within their role. Everyone understands their role, which I think is so massive as far as the impact that could have on this upcoming season. As far as your leadership ability, I think it's safe to say right now, I would say that you're the voice and the leader of the locker room, just based on the years and the work that you've put into this league and the respect that you have, basically shown to your teammates and respect that your teammates have shown to you. I have two moments in your career that I want to say and let you know that are my proudest Lorenzo moments. So let's go with it. So I have to give you credit for how you handled the situation, and I feel like a lot of people that are on the outside looking in, fans, they don't really quite understand how media can ask these questions to players that are sometimes a little bit ridiculous. And you know all about that, right? So I have to give you credit. There was a game last year, home game, where you had, who is now obviously a former teammate of yours. He didn't retire. He did not retire. People say he retired, but he quit. And referring to Vontae Davis, you, like the true professional that you are, and I say this with the utmost respect, you took question after question after question in regards to Vontae Davis, and I could tell that you were very agitated. And in fact, you literally said, no frills about it, you said that you were pissed off, that you had never seen anything like that in all your years of playing football. Take me through what that moment was like for you as an NFL veteran to have to explain to the media how shocked you were, and just how your mindset was. What was your mindset like during that situation?
I was really unaware of the situation. And,
right.
Kind of at this point, it's kind of water under the bridge. I'm kind of over it.
Right.
But
and I don't blame you.
When you play this game, and whether you're a rookie or a 14, 15-year vet, just the amount of energy, sacrifice, whatever you have to put into this game to play it, and somebody that you're counting on, you've built a relationship with, kind of violates that bond. I mean, it's probably the worst thing you can do. I mean, especially in a team atmosphere. And so, without going too much further, that's where the anger and stuff was coming from.
Right.
Just from the guys, the relationship that you built, the kind of
camaraderie and everything.
All that stuff that you've built, and just kind of an unwritten rule. We ain't nobody quitting out here.
Right. That's the last thing on everyone's mind.
Option.
Right.
It's not even an option. I'm gonna get through it, and then after the game, I'll figure it out. It's kind of the mentality, at least how I was brought up. But everybody has the way they deal with things. Mm-hmm. I didn't agree with it. I would never think about doing it, or So, but it is what it is.
Right.
So I'm glad he's moved on. He's doing well, life after football, and the Buffalo Bills moved on, and now we try to do some special things this year.
Right, and my main reason for asking you that wasn't to try to, I wasn't trying to pull the rug out from you or anything, but I really, I just appreciated the way you responded to that, because I think in that moment, it was such a crucial moment. You had so many pieces of the people in the national media saying, oh, this guy just quit on Buffalo, what's going on here? Whereas they have this guy that is a true integral part of this team saying to the media, we didn't expect this. I've never seen it. Just the way you reacted to that situation, I want to give you credit for that, because I feel like a lot of people would have handled it differently. Maybe they would have avoided the questions where you were just like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. And there's another moment that I really appreciate, being that I'm a lifelong Western New Yorker, grew up in Buffalo, through and through, bleed red and blue and blue and gold. You have stuck up for Buffalo, I think, as far as the brand of the city and what makes the city unique and what makes the city great, more than any player that I could ever remember. For a guy that's from California, the Bay Area, you mentioned that you rooted for the Niners back in the day.
Yeah.
You really took to Buffalo. Explain what made you realize Buffalo was the right place for you and your family, and why the perception around the NFL of Buffalo is just so off.
I've spent time here. I think it's the only way you can ever have a true appreciation of any place, especially Buffalo, because I think there's just a natural perception.
Right.
And, I was one of those people as well, being from California, Buffalo. Where's that at? And the only thing I really remember is the Bills back in the day. I think that's most people's association with it, and it's cold.
Right.
Why would I ever want to go there? And so, having spent a lot of time here, my kids have really been ingrained in the community and the schools. We've had a couple of full winters here, so I've been here, from year round, and not just the football season. And so I've really invested into the community. The community invested in me, and when you build those relationships, you build a bond, and it's not like it's just off of that, but it's a lot of stuff that goes on here too. That's awesome. Like I always mentioned, Shea Center or the Sage Theaters. Niagara. You have a ton of restaurants that people have opened up that just has phenomenal food. You think about the concerts that come here. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, Ariana Grande. It's just a ton of things that happen right here in Buffalo, or at least in this area that you can even get to. Toronto's not too far away. So it has a lot to offer culturally. A lot of things, a lot of activities to do. So I just, tell people, hold your judgment before you start just trying to say, there's nothing to do here, but, shovel snow. I mean, that's not true. That's
right.
not true at all. So, so I love the city. Great community, blue collar is right up my alley. Love the people here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and I definitely, if I had even any athletic ability to be in the NFL at all, the only reason why I wouldn't want to play in Buffalo, especially being from here, is because I know that I would eat horrible and I wouldn't be able to stay in shape. The food is the best, right? It's got to be tough for you to stay away from that.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, I have my times where I got to dabble in a little cheat meal from time to time.
Right. You said something a little bit earlier in the show. You said last season you guys, took a step back for a variety of reasons. You guys had 4 different starting quarterbacks last year between Josh Allen, Nathan Peterman, Derek Anderson,
that's probably the main one.
Matt Barkley. Would you say that is the main reason for the 6-10 record last year, or did you have another assessment?
Yeah, I mean, there's no continuity, offensively when you have 4 different quarterbacks.
Right.
I think Josh did really well once he came back from the injury and just steadily got better each and every single week, making plays. But you never want your quarterback to obviously be the leading rusher, so we have some issues there. And hopefully through free agency, we've really beefed up our offensive line. I like the mentality that they have. We get Shady, Frank Gore, Devin Singletary, really rolling this year. That's really going to allow Josh take some pressure off of him, obviously. Some play action, go deep, John Brown, Rob Foster, Zay Jones. I like the young tight end. And so we really have some good pieces to help the maturation process of Josh, because obviously it's a quarterback league, and our team, will kind of flow how he flows. But it's up to the defense, I think, to create that foundation and that floor to where, we can win some games for our team as well. And there's a couple of areas, because obviously I think we're probably more of the more developed group, because it's our 3rd year in the system. We have a lot of returning starters coming back. But we need some areas of improvement as well. And I think the biggest for us is red zone efficiency, making teams kick field goals, which I don't think we did a good job last year. 2-minute, not allowing teams to drive down the field and get a field goal or a touchdown. And then thirdly, I think, is taking the ball away more efficiently. But when we take the ball away, finding a way to put it in the end zone or give our offense, a really short field. And I think those things really help Josh, will help the defense, will help the team. And not to leave out the special teams, I think taking a step there, because there was a couple of games last year where on special teams, we lost the game. And so you can't have that. Special teams need to be the X factor as far as you winning games. So I think those 3 areas, and the issues in each area will be much improved this year. Because even as bad as we were, inconsistent, I guess is a better way, there were, really 3 plays that, in my mind, kept us from being 9-7 instead of 6-10, and that's a big difference. And so that's the error margin that we need to close the gap on, and then obviously take another step forward, which I think we have the ability to do, to try to figure out how to get 10, 11 wins so we can have a home playoff game here.
Right.
And that's the mission, that's the vision. And so, because if you get in the playoffs, have a home game, you really start putting yourself in position to ultimately win a championship, and that's what everybody's playing. I know everybody in that locker room that's their mission. How in my role and whatever I've been asked to do, how do I help this team accomplish the ultimate goal of winning the Lombardi Trophy?
Right, and the next question I have for you is if you guys do play a game at home in Newerfield, who in their right minds could pick a team against you guys in Orchard Park, New York? If no one's coming into our house and taking it, right? At that point.
No, I don't see that happening. I mean, we're going to have a certain mindset set up by that time.
Right.
Let's start from week 1 and each week building on that. And obviously defending our dirt, and obviously having that type of fan base that I know is going to be borderline insane at night. If we have that opportunity, it's definitely going to be hard to ever, beat the Bills at home in January, when you're playing for that type of game, this type of environment and how the guys will get up for a game like that.
I'd have to ask you, as far as Josh Allen goes, he's a quarterback that I greatly admire. I feel like he's a perfect fit for this area, but there were a lot of fans during the draft last year that thought that he was not the right pick. I wasn't one of them. I will say that. I was jumping for joy when they picked him because that he's a small-town guy, he'll buy in, he'll fit well, and everything will be great. But what was your first impression when you actually met Josh Allen face-to-face and shook his hand and said, welcome aboard? The weeks that followed after that, what was your first impressions of Josh Allen? What did you notice?
He looked super young. He's old as my daughter. Obviously. But no, on a serious note, I thought he carried himself real well. Obviously there was some adversity, in the first couple of days, and I thought he handled that very well. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed with him taking ownership, and that just showed me how much he had matured and how much of a man he was. And so when somebody does that, he had earned my respect, I think, even before he knew it. And so just watching him and how he carried himself and the things that that he did each and every single day really impressed me. I thought he was a natural leader. People naturally gravitate towards him, and definitely could be a guy that could help turn this organization around and ultimately win games and win championships. And so he's done a great job of maturing his mind off the field, on the field, and I think his skill set has gotten a lot better from year one to year two. Just watching him in OTAs and how he's performing, touch and placement of the ball, things of that nature, decision making, has really impressed me. Because I'm like, oh, okay, let me see how Josh was doing. It's like, okay, I like it. I like the progress. So he just has to continue to grow. Obviously, we need to continue to, stay healthy and all those things and have people around him to help him. But he's definitely going in the right direction. You
have a lot of community service under your belt. That's safe to say. You run a really great foundation, the ACES Foundation. You have a lot of events coming up with that. There's one on June 8th, I believe. There's
Saturday. Yep.
A bowling event? Yep.
Yeah, doing a bowling event fundraiser over at Strikers in West Seneca. Second year me doing it and just raising money for the local partnerships I have in this area with South Park High School, that we do mentoring and has done some college tours, as well as the Bell Center, where we have a couple of STEM programs going on. We're doing a community day at their venue later on this year as well. And then any other thing that I come in contact with where I can help is just to raise funds to maybe help bless those organizations and people that are doing great work here in Buffalo.
That's phenomenal. That's awesome. And to close out the show, I got one last question. If I didn't ask you this question, I would just, I don't know what I would do, but I have to ask you. Outside of the fact this was a true honor for me to have you on the show, you're a guest that I've wanted on the show for a long time, but I have to ask you, is this the last season for you in an NFL uniform?
Most likely it will be.
Most likely? Can I convince you to stay? Can I convince you to stay?
Well, we'll have to see how this year plays out. But at this point, I've done everything I wanted to do in this league, right, besides winning the championship. And as my kids get older, at some point it's time to turn the page and do other things that God has called me to do. And, I'm looking forward to that next transition. I know it'll be hard because I love this game so much and I'm playing well. Mm-hmm. And, whenever that decision is made, I know it's going to be a hard one, but, life goes on and the NFL is not for long. And, I'll be a young 30-something. Transition with a lot of life left in front of me. So I'm excited for that next part as well.
Right. Well, Lorenzo, it's been an honor for me. I wish you all the luck in the world this season. I'll be rooting for you. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you. Take care. Go Bills.
All right, go Bills.
Thank you. That was Lorenzo Alexander, ladies and gentlemen. The career of Lorenzo Alexander, the journey, has been a heck of a journey. A lot to take in there. Man, I got goosebumps. The hair on my arms are standing up. And I got a lot of hair on these arms. And they're standing up. he said that the Bills are going to have their coming out party. There's some little things that they need to do in order to get there, but they're working on it. What are the differences between Rex Ryan and Sean McDermott? Wow, that was great. That was great. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Go Bills.